Okay, hey guys, Davison here. I just got inside and there's breaking news of an active shooter at the YouTube head offices. I was not expecting to read that as soon as I walked in the door. My first reaction was to message every single fucking person that I know at YouTube to tell them there's an active shooter. I don't know if they have a PA system or a messaging system at YouTube. I hope so. But I mean, I would think that if you know somebody that is working at a place where there's reports of an active shooter, the first thing you fucking do is you go and you message them and you tell them what's happening. So I'm not at the YouTube. Oh, okay, good. Okay, somebody just messaged me. He's like, I'm safe. I'm evacuated and now back in San Francisco. Thank fucking God. I'm not at YouTube head. I'm not at the YouTube head office. I just know a lot of people that work there because I've done training with them over the years. I mean, I'm an original YouTuber. I've been doing this for like 10 years. So I've gone to a lot of like YouTube events. But the shocking news, I'm going to read it to you. I found out via Twitter Moments, is that there is an active shooter at the YouTube head offices. Now, shots were fired. There's no confirmations of if there's any victims at this point. Again, I'm happy that I messaged people because I would hope that anybody would do the same for me if, like, I'm not close to these people other than professionally, but I would hope that, that if I was, if there was news reports and I'm in a building and I might not even know and I'm in the bathroom, that somebody goes, hey, Davison, get the fuck out. There's somebody that's shooting up the place. So let me just read this to you. So my friend evacuated. So that means that that means that he knew. He got evacuated. I don't know if that means that this happened earlier in the day, but I'm about to read the report. So as of 45 minutes ago, active shooter at YouTube HQ, heard shots and saw people running while at my desk. Now I'm barricaded inside a room with coworkers, says Vadim Lavruskik. And then there's Miles. Gunshots at YouTube head office in San Bruno. My office across the street is on lockdown. So Taj said, we were sitting in a meeting, then we heard people running because it was rumbling the floor. First, I thought it was an earthquake, but it turns out that it's an active shooter at the YouTube head offices. So 2:58 p.m. is when this transpired. I don't know if 2:58 p.m. would be Los Angeles time. That doesn't seem to fully make sense to me because it sounds like this happened 45 minutes ago. So it says... this guy says, Eddie, I think there might be a shooter in my building here. I'll flip the screen so you guys see this. I think there might be an active shooter in the building. What? Tell me ASAP. The fire alarm went off, so we started to evacuate, and then people started running saying there was a shooter. So what's going on now? Are you on a lockdown? Now there's a million of cop cars racing here. I don't know what's going on. I got outside. I think the shooting, they're confused, telling us they heard something about gunshots and a shooter. So people are hiding out in the rooms. Okay, so here's some footage. So that's the people, them responding. So YouTube is 999 Bay Hill Drive. I didn't know that. So Google Communications says YouTube situation. We are coordinating with authorities and will provide official information here from Google and YouTube as it becomes available. Another guy said, Dan, who works at YouTube, says active shooter at YouTube. Becky and I are safe. So people are being escorted from building by police. The fire truck has arrived. So Aaron says helicopters have arrived and more employees are being brought out with hands over their heads. And Ryan says confirmed active shooter at YouTube HQ in San Bruno. It's a very active scene. Oh, so it's still active as of 34 minutes ago. So there are people that have evacuated, but apparently there are still people in the building now. I wonder, who did it. My gut instinct, unfortunately, is that it is definitively a male. My gut instinct is that if it's not a terrorist act, which would surprise me, it's somebody who went nutso at YouTube blaming them for whatever, offense. We know it's been pretty tense the last years in terms of YouTube policy, the last few years, but that of course does not justify anyone's heinous actions, but it could explain their motivations, should that be the motivation. I mean, the motivation largely whenever there is somebody who commits a mass shooting, other than terrorism, is the fact that usually there's mental problems because no sane individual takes out their frustrations on innocent human beings who never did anything wrong. So I have no idea what's going to happen as the story develops. I don't know if we're going to find out that it was just a random act of violence, but it looks like there are a number of people that have gotten out so far. It's not a joke. I don't think this is a joke. Safe got evacuated. They heard actual shots. I don't think Logan Paul would be so evil as to stage a shooting at the YouTube head offices. I mean, YouTube, I mean, YouTube is his livelihood. Why the hell would he shoot up YouTube? I know you guys meant that as a joke, but I don't find it funny right now. So most people are still in lockdown. Here's a map of the area. Please stay out of the area if you are around 901 Cherry Avenue. And we're going to refresh this because this is the updates we've seen. So the only video from the actual scene right now is just police and emergency vehicles responding to the active shooting. I can't, this is so shocking to me. I mean, should it be shocking? I mean, can we get into right now? Sorry, I'm a little distracted. Can we get into right now the fact that guns are a problem in the United States? I mean, things like this don't happen to at the same frequency in where I live in Canada. And I think that gun control needs to happen in the United States. I hate to bring that up now, but guns enable shit like this to happen. If it was an idiot with a knife, how many people can an idiot with a knife get? But an idiot with a gun can get a lot of people. So the United States needs to take a good, long, hard look in the mirror and its, and its relationship with the amendment that enables everyone to own guns and the NRA, and decide what it wants for its nation, if it wants continued violence or if it wants solutions. I'm going to refresh the page. I don't know what you guys think about that. It's fine if this is demonetized. It's not going to be monetized because it's about a sensitive situation. So there's no way in hell that YouTube's gonna monetize this, and I don't even care. Basically, there are reports of an active shooter at the YouTube. Sorry, just a minute. There are reports of an active shooter at the YouTube head offices in San Bruno, California. Shots were fired. There are certain people that have been evacuated. I have at least one confirmed employee that I know that has been evacuated. I warned people that I knew via email and messenger that there was an active shooter and they need to get the fuck out because it's a huge office. So I know that people are actively probably on Google Messenger all day within within the offices at YouTube. So I'm sure that the word spread quickly, and it's not like gunshots. You can not hear them. Though again, if it's a massive campus, who knows how much the sound of gunshot would spread. So that's sort of the update right now. I'm just going to do a little Google search right now. So active shooter at YouTube head office, because I'm finding out about this as you guys are. And like I said, the only contact I have is with the employees that I've previously worked with. And I notified them before even going live, because I'm like, I will write to everyone I know, tell them that stuff is going down, and hopefully they are safe. Because we don't know if there's been any victims, but it sounds like there might have been. And I don't know what kind of security there are at the YouTube head offices, but obviously maybe there needs to now be like a barricade and people need to be buzzed in. But that's, again, what happens when you have problems with gun control in a country and they refuse to remove certain weapons from the general population. I really do fully hold U.S. policy accountable for part of this. I know it's up to individuals. Individuals, there's always going to be evil. But if you make tools of hurt and harm available readily to people, you are enabling them, and that's not acceptable to me anymore. So there's at least 10 victims. Oh my God. Oh my God. So police have responded to multiple 911 calls at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California. Multiple victims have been taken to the hospital following the shooting. About 1,700 people work in the building, according to NBC News. The San Bruno Police Department instructed people to stay away from 901 Cherry Avenue, where the company is located. Multiple 911 calls have been received from inside of the building, according to a report from the local news station. In a Twitter thread, YouTube product manager Todd Sherman said that employees first thought there had been an earthquake. People began running out of their meetings, he said, but before reaching the exit, they got word that someone had a gun. Sherman said he saw blood on the floor and on the stairs. He also said the shooter may have committed suicide. Well, let's hope, because that specific person doesn't deserve to live, in my opinion. Footage posted on the Snapchat showed YouTube employees streaming out of the building with their hands above their heads. The doors to its headquarters are typically locked and visitors have to be buzzed in by someone at the front desk. Then how did the person, I guess the person stormed in? Weird. So that person got through the buzzing. So that person looked innocuous. As one of the most visited services on the web, YouTube is under constant scrutiny for its policy decisions over content moderation, monetization, and other issues. Last month, the company updated its policy on videos featuring firearms. Whoa. Expanding the list of accessories that cannot be featured in videos or that sell them, or how users manufacture or install the accessories. Back to what I had said before, it always takes a psychotic individual to commit an act, and a heinous act like this, but definitely, if we're looking for motive, it's been a pretty tense situation on YouTube the last couple of years, and they keep changing guidelines, and a lot of people's livelihoods have been severely affected. And YouTube does have an extremely strong influence next to Facebook on the way that our society behaves and operates. If anything, sometimes some of these platforms have too much influence. So that doesn't justify at all what happened. It's disgusting what happened, but it could explain the motives of a disgusting shooter. But again, it's that coupled with insanity, because a sane person doesn't hurt people just because their job gets fucked up. They figure out another way. You know what I'm saying? So Sterling says, perhaps it's an employee of YouTube. Yeah, that's a good point. Because if they were buzzed in, it might be. So Stin says, this will lead to the next crackdown on free speech, more censorship. Mark my words. Ask yourself who benefits. I think I want it to lead to gun control. I don't want it to lead to, I don't think anyone's freedom of speech should be restricted, provided they aren't excessively hateful. I don't agree with what actually YouTube did to some conservative YouTube pundits. They deserve to have and voice their opinions, because otherwise the truth isn't balanced if we're only pushing leftist, safe, sanitized ideals. That said, extreme hate, I of course can never get down with, and I agree that that should be removed. Anything to do with Nazism or torture or whatever. This isn't a freedom of speech issue. This is a gun control issue. But that said, no, I mean, you're never going to stop people from being disgruntled. But if you run a massively powerful institution, it's true that there are trickle-down effects that if you make people massively uncomfortable. Do you know what I'm saying? If a government starts to mistreat its citizens, certain citizens will start to protest, and certain citizens will start to act in a means that heads towards, revolution. And unfortunately, certain individuals will use, violence to accomplish that revolution. So I am not, again, this is an explanation, not any blame pointed at YouTube whatsoever. They are totally innocent and did not deserve this. However, they need to really think when they make massive decisions that fuck up everyone's lives, what the outcome could be. If you take away a man's bread, certain men will become desperate. And again, that's an explanation, not a justification at all. But they have great power and great influence, and so with that comes great responsibility, and they should handle any decision they make with an abundance of care and judiciousness, in my opinion. Owen says, I feel your pain. Yash says they wait until stuff like this happens. Well, unfortunately, that's just true of human nature. People don't change until shit hits the fan. I'm not saying, again, YouTube doesn't need to change. I'm just saying that when something terribly horrible happens at the government, because I consider YouTube on par with the government, you have to examine the motivations in order to act to change policy in the future to prevent things like this from happening. Outside of that, again, it's a gun control issue, largely. The United States has a terrible problem with guns and access to firearms. They are far too available. They are far too cheap. This would be nearly unfathomable in Canada. These types of shootings do occur, but they are exceedingly, and I repeat this, exceedingly rare. And your government will not become tyrannical just because you do not have firearms. Because people can always hoard up en masse and make shit happen should shit become fascist and by the way, there is a little degree of fascism in America, despite the fact that a lot of people have fucking guns. So, you know, there's just far too many models that gun control works. And so that's what I will call upon. So Owen says, I think they need to add gun license law to stop all the shooting. You would back to like Canada, make handguns illegal, make semi-automatic weapons legal. The only guns that should be kicking around are if you are a hunter. The only people that should be trained in using guns regularly should be the police and the military. Hell, in the UK, the police have billy batons and they still maintain order and control. So you don't need guns necessarily to control the masses, nor do you need it to protect yourself. So Sterling says, I believe a lot of these shootings are being orchestrated by our own intelligence agencies. Well, I mean, I can't comment on that. I mean, you could be right? It's possible. Is it likely? I don't know. I guess maybe I'm far too innocent and benevolent, and I believe that, you know, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I believe that overall, most government agencies, despite being greedy as fuck, and power hungry, I do believe that they more or less are pro-social. They're not antisocial, psychotic institutions that seek to harm and damage people. So that would be very surprising to me if intelligence carried out a mission to create this carnage, you know, and it depends on the identity of the individual. I think it'll be fairly obvious fairly quickly if the motivation, you know, if it is an unknown person with no known histories, wherein, you know, an intelligence agency would be suspect. But if it's an employee, I mean, I guess an employee could be like a secret cold agent over the years, a covert agent, and then all of a sudden carries out a mission. But what would the government's motivation be? Like to instill fear in the masses, fake news, fucking Donald Trump's angry about fake news? I don't know. That just seems a little sketchy to me. The FBI says Sterling Price isn't that assuming a lot. That's okay. So Owen said, yes, I think we need to tell Trump about putting out a gun law and restrict people who are using the guns, and those who are using them wrongly will go to jail. And then they should have a gun license if they don't know how to control it. The wealthy elite fear an armed uprising. Well, no, I mean, I'm not going to agree with... No, if anything, the wealthy elite has all the power. They don't fear anything. And people, militias aren't going to gather together and overthrow the government. That's just not going to happen. So Yash says there needs to be a national background check system. I absolutely agree with that. I concur. Oh, this is a nightmare. Okay, so it's developing. Let me just refresh the page. Active shooter at YouTube. That's just emergency vehicles. Just more pictures. This is nothing. This is nothing new. Let's see if anybody else wrote to me telling me they're okay. So Scott wrote to me, so let me just write him back. I'm glad you're okay. Okay, so that's the only person I've heard from. Sorry guys, I'm just putting this on hold for a second. This is shocking. I mean, the shit like this can happen at any time, you know, like why, you know, but again, in a society where firearms are readily available, it's going to happen at any given time. So let me go back to your comments. What are the gun laws in Canada? I'm not fully familiar with the gun laws in Canada, but to my understanding, we do not sell firearms in Walmarts. I have never seen handguns for sale publicly. The things I've seen in Canadian Tire are like BB guns. I believe that individuals are not allowed to own handguns in Canada. I don't know anyone who owns a gun other than a hunting gun. You definitely cannot own automatic or semi-automatic weapons. And there used to be a long gun registry for hunters, but that was eliminated when the Conservatives took power. But I believe it may have been partially reinstated by the current Liberal government under Justin Trudeau, because he's very leftist and progressive. He's almost to the level of like NDP socialist. All I know is that I have never feared in Canada being shot, but I have always feared having something terrible happen whenever I visit the United States. The only shootings I've ever heard of in Canada are like once there was a shooting at the Eaton Centre Mall in Toronto, Ontario. I believe that was like 4 years ago. I hear in Montreal of shootings that are gang related here. I believe that there's been probably 8 shootings this year in Montreal. Again, most are in the northeast end of town, the sketchier end of town. And again, they're largely gang related and drug related or mafia related. There's more arson here actually than there is shootings. So I just feel like it works here. Like I don't have to, other than being afraid of say getting assaulted when I go out late at night, though that is also rare. I feel so safe here, and it really is a result of the gun laws. That's it. Anything tragedy can happen at any time. I'm not saying this like, oh, nothing bad ain't ever gonna happen to me or anybody else. That's fucking bullshit. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. But the more barriers you put to bad shit happening, the less likely it is to happen. And that it's just, you can't argue with me that it's any other way. So Sterling says, as you can see, I'm totally against gun control. I would never relinquish mine. I think it will cause another civil war. Well, you're already in a civil war, my friend. And it's evidenced by the number of mass shootings that happen every single fucking week in the United States. Owen says, not without a gun license, which is why it costs a lot of money. Thomas, I can't comment on that. You can own a handgun in Canada. Hold on, gun laws, but so few people do. Laws. And guns are just not something that you can easily access or buy. It's gun laws in Canada. Gun legislation in Canada is largely about licensing and registration. Anyhow, this is about YouTube. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole of Canadian experience of this. Wow, it's going to be new for people. Eyewitnesses just said it's a white female. That's shocking. So Al says, to get a rifle, you need to take a hunter's training course. Max, did you hear?
Yeah, there's a shooting that's what I was about to tell you.
Yeah, I've gone live to discuss it with people. And they say it might be a white female. A white female.
Who might actually be trans, too.
Oh, who's trans. Okay, so it's not a female. I hate to say it, but that's not a fucking female. Okay, just a minute. Hold on, just a minute. Sorry, but that's not female. I mean, that's female, that she's allowed to announce her gender as female, but if you're trans and you commit an act of violence, you were born male, I'm sorry. Not that you get your women's card is relinquished, however, sorry, that's a male. Because women don't generally commit massive acts of violence. They just don't. It's not in our DNA. I'm not saying women are completely non-violent. Hold on a second, just give me a minute, guys. Sorry, I have to do something. And I'm not trying to be transphobic. But come on. Oh, it's a white female, but she's trans. Oh, sorry, that's a fucking man. I'm sorry, that's a man. Women, I think the reason why women aren't usually responsible for things like this is because we have to take care of infants. Hear me out on this. Infants are exceedingly demanding and almost antisocial. They hurt you. They make you wake up all the time. They just completely disrupt your life. So if women had as strong a capacity for violence, we would hurt our children. I mean that. So I think that's why there's less women that are. And just testosterone makes it, our lower testosterone levels makes it as such that we're just not as aggressive. And I'm not trying to be sexist, I'm just talking about biology. So to me, that explains the absence of female shooters. That said, there are female serial killers, there are psychotic females, but they are so much more rare than male. What do you guys think about that? True, almost all murderers are men. Yeah, I'd said that before, Sterling. That's what I'm saying. That's not a justification, but it's perhaps an explanation. Wow. Female. Wow. So women do hurt to children, especially feminist ones. No, that's not true. Don't give me that bullshit. Don't give me that MRA bullshit. That's not true. And my point is, not to blame men. It's just me saying, because someone just said the shooter was female. If she's a trans female, like that's, again, effectively, in my opinion, they were socialized male before deciding to become female. And even though I believe that all trans people, you can decide your gender, if we're gonna boil it down to what the gender of the perpetrator was and their neurobiology, they're male. You guys explain to me why it's men that normally end up committing acts of violence. I offered my explanation. I already made my point. I'm not here to fight about feminism. I mean, you're welcome to leave the stream if you care to fight about feminism, because this has nothing to do with that whatsoever. This is a tragedy. 11 shots. Do you think it's a YouTuber? Well, it's someone who was buzzed in. So, I mean, oh my God. Can you imagine if it's a YouTuber? I mean, we'll find out eventually. We'll find out tonight. I mean, we're not going to find out right now, probably. Another 4 going to the hospital, so it's up till 11. That's crazy. It's a mass shooting. There's more than one gender, because gender is a construct, in my opinion. However, biological sex, there's technically kind of chromosomally more than just 2. There's like, because there are people with ambiguous genitalia, and there are people who are multi-chromosomal. So it's not as simplistic as male or female, but I would say to simplify, there's like 3 genders if we're talking about biological sex, you know, the intersex, male and female. But I do believe gender, to a certain degree, we are socialized. It's part biology, part nurture. And I don't see why it would be offensive for anybody to tell you that they're a different gender, or that they cognitively feel that they inhabit a different sort of energy space. I mean, it is confusing, because it's like, well, then why, if there's transgender and you don't believe in gender and you can change your gender, why are you assigning it a gender? Well, it's because I think it's like yin and yang. We assign certain frequencies as gendered. You feel me? So if you feel that you vibrate at a certain frequency, it makes more sense for you to identify, say, as male. I feel like myself as a human being, even though I'm clearly female, and I'm clearly largely heterosexual, I feel sometimes in my mind that I'm a little bit in the middle. I'm not especially feminine, but I'm not totally masculine. I'm biologically female. I had a child. Anyhow, this isn't about gender. I just wanted to digress because the stream digressed. So Yash said, the sad part is that everyone will forget about the shooting in a week. I agree. And I feel like I want to make a video, again, encouraging gun control. So YouTube management has been messing with notifications, money, censoring, pushing agendas. Yes, I said this earlier, but again, I don't want to blame them. I'm just saying that they have so much power. They're like a government agency, so they need to be more careful with the way they handle things. But that said, that sounds like I'm blaming them. This is not their fault. However, policies have a trickle-down effect, and so they need to be cognizant of that. Do you feel me? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I do not want to sound like I am blaming anyone. But you know, it's very true that YouTube has not handled policy decisions well at all. They've treated creators like shit, and there's only so much shit that creators can take before a crazy one is going to be crazy and able to be crazier than if they would have been slowly rolling this out, balancing, you know, what's happening with the advertisers, balancing everything fairly, not taking people's money away, not changing a system overnight, not essentially overthrowing the order. They very much, you know, I just absolutely feel that they were very reactive, and it's been very painful and very horrible for a lot of us. I mean, I don't even know what's going to happen to this broadcast, right? Like, I'm talking about a news event, and this is clearly a news broadcast right now, and this is an opinion news broadcast. their machine might assume that I'm talking about something that they don't want on the system and that's violent, and they'll give me a strike, which is, I mean, I'll create a huge fucking fuss if that's the case, because this is essential. I'm telling people about something that just happened that is significant globally and definitely significant in the United States. And again, Google is a global superpower. So, but unfortunately, yes, you are right. YouTube keeps making terrible decisions and allowing machine rule and favoring the bottom line of money over social stability on YouTube. And they gotta face that. But again, gun control, and crazy people are always going to be fucking crazy. So Owen says, "Hey, I gotta go, and we can't we just all treat each other right and make America great again instead of being negative?" I absolutely agree with you, buddy. Peace, man. So Stin says, "We are violent because we have to protect women. It's in our DNA, blame nature or something." Well, I had said this before. It's just like women need to not be violent because we take care of infants and we birth infants. If we were violent and aggressive, we would tire and hurt or harm, be more likely to harm our infants. So we had to evolve to be a little bit more docile and nonviolent and emotional. It was essential, I believe. And some people will call me sexist for that opinion, but I think it's pretty obvious. I'm more of a moderate, I think, in some regards than, you know, I'm not purely blindly leftist intersectional. So Yash said, "I don't think gun control is the answer, though. Mental health industry needs to improve, correctly identify dangerous people that are prone to violence." Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you the crazies from the type of comments I get, right? Does anybody listen to that? No. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Do a lot of these people need help they don't have access to? Yes. Do I think the privatized medical system in the United States is hurting things? Absolutely.
PewDiePie did?
No. So what did PewDiePie do? This is my.
He changed his banner to the supposed active shooter.
No.
He did.
Here, wait. No.
Oh, you have to hold that function?
No.
Wait.
Keep lowering the contrast.
Is that good?
Keep lowering the contrast.
Oh, too low. There.
So it's a Muslim woman?
Muslim trans lady, apparently. Nobody knows yet because it's happening, like, right now. But PewDiePie changed his banner to this.
Holy moly. Well, I'm sorry, but a Muslim trans woman is not a fucking woman. She's a fucking man. She's a man who decided to be a woman. They're male to female. Allegedly. This is all allegedly. No, nothing's been confirmed. Apparently it started with a lady killing her boyfriend. Really? Yeah, these people need to be turned in to get help, not left alone to commit mass shootings. I absolutely agree. Like, if you see that someone's behaving problematically consistently online, people are what they write. People are what they say. There needs to be an intervention. We don't want persecution because there could easily be a slippery slope into persecution. But yeah, there needs to be intervention. I agree with that. And we have the tools to really, unfortunately, profile people. But then again, that's the problem with profiling people. I'm not saying racially, I'm saying psychologically. Sometimes profiling is wrong and it infringes upon people's personal rights to privacy and freedom. Do we want to remove freedom? I don't know. It's like, this is back to, like, it's almost like the gun control argument. You have to decide as a society how much you need to control things versus how much freedom you allow people. Too much freedom doesn't work. Too little freedom obviously is oppressive. That said, yes, the internet is an amazing tool for psychoanalysis, and Facebook tomorrow could tell us everyone who's fucked in the head. I mean, they could. But again, that's a violation of freedom. So, and I wouldn't want them to have that much power. But yeah, there has to be a happy medium where we can go like, this seems weird. This is like, we're gonna report this person. This is, the X is not meeting with the Y. There's a little bit of a crack in this foundation. It is very sad. Oh, guys. Okay, so I need a break. I was already live streaming an hour before this. I feel like I want to know what happens. I'm gonna go. Yes, I know about being red pilled. I'm gonna go and go back to Twitter and I just can't even. This is such a shock. Like, I'm glad at least one person I know is okay. Let me just go to PewDiePie, twitter.com. Oh, he changed his banner where, Max? On YouTube or on Twitter?
YouTube. I don't have it.
Oh, okay. So he didn't change it on Twitter. He changed it on YouTube. Holy fuck. Okay, so let me just see. YouTube.com/PewDiePie. Yeah, there we go. Oh, sorry. Wow. And what the fuck's her name? What's her YouTube channel? Let me look up Muslim trans. Muslim trans YouTube. Muslim YouTube shooter. Sorry, let me just see. Unless 4chan started a rumor. So, Fox breaking, now reports of woman who shot her boyfriend at YouTube, saying that's how it began. I have no idea if this has all been confirmed by Fox or not. Curious report of his or her shooter wearing a white headscarf, black top on a sunny day, Muslim maybe. If your YouTube shooter is a Muslim, what will you say? Answer, nothing. I would love for the shooter at YouTube to be a MAGA supporter or a Muslim for the sole purpose of messing with the minds of both MAGA and the resistance. Well, I don't, whoever it is, it's pretty sad. Let's leave it at that. If I were to believe everyone on Twitter, the YouTube shooter is male, female, male, trans, a white supremacist, a Muslim, with the same pic for both wearing a headscarf, is Anita Sarkeesian. Well, of course it's not. Well, I know people always do this, don't trust everything, but rumors, the truth spreads fast, guys. I think we have every reason to believe that it is probably a Muslim woman. Do you think that the people at YouTube aren't already talking to their friends and family? YouTube shooting may be a Muslim terror attack. Unbelievable. A law enforcement source confirms to ABC News 7 that the shooter is a white adult female wearing a dark top and a headscarf. Oh my God. I feel bad for Muslims because whenever stuff like this happens, it just makes things worse for them. Non-violent, normal Muslims. Okay, guys, I'm going to cut this off. You now know what's going on. It's a shock. If you believe in peace in the United States, I encourage you to donate to anti-gun lobbies. I encourage you to start thinking about gun control. Doesn't mean you have to be a liberal or a Democrat. As Republicans should start to consider that, because if you enable tools of violence, you enable continued violence and mass shootings. I wish you all well. I wish you all a safe, happy evening, regardless of your political beliefs. Be kind to others, and sending love and healing to everyone. And this is a tragedy. It is not YouTube's fault. And I hope everybody heals from this. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye.